That is correct. Rick Hale, good morning. I know you had a late night.
I did.
Hope everybody is warm. I saw a meme online that said it's colder in Florida right now than Alaska.
Well, and I was out in Breckenridge, and the East Coast got more snow than we did. So, so go figure, Colorado fail.
All right, before we jump in, uh, I'm curious. We did our stats presentation a week ago, and did anybody have any ahas or things that really stuck out that maybe would be a good starting point today?
So it wasn't necessarily in the stats presentation, but it was in the listing presentation supplement. And it was a silly little thing where it shows where most buyers come from. And there was like a 9% drop. You know where it says the majority of sellers come from an internet search?
Yep.
I think it dropped. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it was like from 51 to 41% now. And that there was a pickup in referrals from friends and it was personal relationships that had increased, which I thought was really interesting.
Are
Um,
you talking about how people are meeting post?
how people are finding realtors to work with, or how they're starting their search for real estate. And I
Yeah,
just found that that was really interesting, that it was more about personal relationships, because we're talking about AI a lot and there's this fear that realtors are going away. But what the data was showing on that one slide was, yes, of course, a large percentage are starting their search on the internet, but a lot of people are just talking to friends and family and getting referrals from other people.
perfect. Anybody else? Any ahas or talking points coming out of stats? Thanks, Nadine.
You know,
Richard, you co-presented. What was the big arching thought? You're muted. You're muted. Richard, you're muted.
Yep. There we
Okay.
go.
But it was profound, I could
My
tell.
my
It was
comment was
good.
that I can talk a lot faster than I normally do.
Okay, good. All
It was
right.
a great day, and as I shared with you before, every comment that I heard from the people that were there, from the mastermind in the morning to the stats, were extremely impressed with the day.
Good. Well, I hope it makes a difference. I hope it empowers you in conversations with your buyers and sellers. I hope it translates to dialogue on social media, all the nine yards, right? Well, let's jump in the numbers real quick. So, Broward County single family, 847 active status changes as of this morning, 7-day total. Looks like we're up from last week, but we are maybe not as high as we were the first 2 weeks of January. Still, there's 16 coming soons. What I'm most encouraged by is this 183 and this 150 number. So, I say it every week at the beginning of the year, like I'm always trying to decide, are we starting fast? Are we starting fast or is it a slow start to the year? It sure looks like there was a big pop over the last 7 days of people out looking at houses and going under contract. Um, Certainly the highest week we've seen year to date at the end of January. And I think it just means that spring, it's hard to say spring when it's cold, but the spring selling season has begun, right? And I expect that number to continue to climb all the way for the next few weeks. So 183 single family went under contract Broward County, 150 went pending. We have 214 that closed out at the end of January. Now, what'll be fun is once we get the full year's worth of data, we'll be able to compare it to what the end of January 2025 looks like when we get there. But we won't have that comparison till about July. Um, Expired listings, we've got 101 in the canceled, 138 and expired, and 39 withdrawn. Certainly understand it's end of month. Those numbers escalate at end of month. Let's look Broward County condos, 1134 active status change, which is we've had 4 big weeks in Broward County condo. We've got 139 that went under contract. Again, largest number year to date. 119 pending, which a little down from last week, but not much. And then 165 closed out in the last 7 days. Still big expired listing numbers in the condo market. 254 at the end of the month, 130 canceled. You can see it. If I jump down to Miami-Dade, single family, there was 839 in the active status change. 138, same story, largest number year to date going under contract, 185 pending and 198 closed. I'm just going to pause for a minute. And Richard, I'm coming to you. Like, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you hearing? All the above.
My guess is the number of the jump up and under contract and pending, and you want to add those two numbers together. Those are buyers that jump back into the market come the first of the year. They were out shopping for a couple of weeks, and it took maybe 3 weeks for them to finally find the house they want and go under contract with it. I think this is an incredible start for the year for us.
I do too. I don't know. We weren't tracking a year ago, but I would be really interested to see how it compared to last year's start because it sure felt like last year started a little slow. All right, moving on. Miami-Dade condos, 1,026 active status change. Still big numbers in coming on the market. 93 went under contract, not drastically different, but still the largest amount of property going under contract. 150, 130 in the pending, still pretty high. 153 closed. You can see expireds were popping. We jumped down to Palm Beach, single family. We've got 869 active status changes. We had 3 big weeks, and then this is still a great number. It's just not as big as the previous weeks. But there's 37 coming soon right now in Palm Beach County single family, 210 under contract and 157. So it is the largest pending, but Palm Beach had 3 really strong weeks of property going under contract, single family. And then the expired listing number was not as high in Palm Beach, which it was something I notated. Um, Palm Beach condos, 829, 131 went under contract and 112. Same story. Largest week year to date. 125 closed out. And then I'm not seeing big pops in expired listings at the end of January in Palm Beach for some outlying reason. Any comments, thoughts? What are you feeling? Are you feeling what the numbers are showing? What are you feeling? Are you frozen? Are you iguanas falling out of trees? What are you feeling?
It, I mean, it seems like the market is picking up. I know lots of buyers are out there, and I know all the agents, there seems to be a lot of activity in the office. I do know that as far as working with buyers. Um, I'm wondering on the expired thing, I'm wondering if they're taking longer listing times. Um, just a
I would
thought.
hope so.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that because a lot of time, some people were even taking 90-day listings, which is crazy. But I think maybe more people are taking year-long listings or definitely, I don't know if that's the difference in that market. I'm just wondering about it
Yeah,
instead
uh,
of listing.
certainly. Go ahead.
No, just wondering if, I mean, typically I would take a 6-month listing. I know in some price points you're going to take a year-long listing if it's a luxury property. So I don't, that just seems odd that one county would be so different.
So, Richard, based on stats we did a week ago, what is the recommended listing time right now?
If I was out there, I wouldn't take a listing less than 6 months. Never did.
Never have.
When you hit over 1 million, which is not a major price point these days, it's always been common to take a 1 year listing. So Nadine, nothing's really changed with it. Anybody who takes a 90-day listing in this market is nuts, not unless the seller is giving them a 90-day price on it, which we're not seeing.
Yeah, I agree, but I do know there are some agents out there because when going on appointments, people are asking if you will take shorter
Sorry,
lists.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
And the answer is usually
Yeah.
no.
All right.
There will be agents out there who do anything, Nadine. These are the same agents that take the discounted listings. They just want to get their foot in the door with the seller, and they know that if it doesn't sell in 90 days, they'll talk them into extending the listing time, talk them into a price reduction. This is the game of just taking listings. The goal is to take saleable listings.
Yes, and you will find yourself with a cold listing at some point in your sales journey. What do if you've got a cold listing? Let's say you take that 6-month listing and you're 100 days in and it feels cold. What's the strategy? This
Well,
article talks about 9 different fixes, but go ahead.
that some of his thoughts in here are just fabulous, and they're easy fixes that you should try before you go for major price reductions.
Why don't you walk us through this, Richard? I'll scroll.
Thanks, Brett.
Yeah. So the first one, start with a full relaunch, not a tweak.
Yeah. What he's talking about, and it's my memory because I read this last night. One of the things that you do, one of the first things you do is rework your MLS listing. Go back in and rewrite your description. And yeah, right in your paragraph there, first place to start is the MLS description. Most agents, 6 months down the road from here, you haven't done anything to change the MLS. Change from talking about the features of the property to talking about the benefits of the property. Make it more descriptive as to who it's going to apply to. Next one he's talking about is use incentives. If you haven't been able to move the property, rather than taking a $25,000 price reduction, depending on the price point, offer it in the way of a rate buy down. Make it more appealing to some buyers that normally wouldn't have looked at that property. This is past the 5-second, 5-minute test. Funny, for a long time, when you're working with sellers, you're having to explain to them, a buyer walks in your front door and they know within the first 5 seconds if they like the house or not. Don't be insulted when they turn around and walk right out again. They know what they want. This is talking, going back even further than that. You might want to change the curb appeal of the house. It's a relatively easy fix down here to redo your landscaping, clean up something. You want to hit the buyer with that impact from the minute they walk in the front door.
You're exactly right. They subconsciously disqualify your house. It's not a conscious decision, but emotionally they don't feel attached if that first impression is moderate to weak. And so that's an important aspect. Maybe one of the more important things, often undervalued. Even as simple as a key that doesn't operate really, really well, I would always exchange for a brand new lock with a seamless, smooth, and even a high-end hardware choice can make a difference in that first impression.
Yeah. Now, you're right, Rick. Subconsciously, something as simple as that, the buyer, without thinking about it, is going, well, if they haven't maintained that, what else could there be in the house?
It sends
Yep.
a subliminal message for sure. And again, that key thing, I'm telling you, anybody who's opened, if you've opened more than 100 doors, every now and then there's a few that just, you have to hold your head a certain way and smile. And
Yeah.
it just says the house isn't up to speed.
Yep. And this next one, I kind of chuckled at give the property a name and a personality. You
Fred.
can the buyer's either going to give it a negative name or they're going to give it something really cute and positive. Yeah, how many times you're out with buyer and you go, oh, the house with the red door, the house that smelled a cat when we were walked inside,
The cat
that,
house. Yeah.
yeah, right? So what this is talking about is, A, you want to do away with all those negatives to start with, but even in the MLS or in your brochures that you do, give the house a catchy name that people are going to remember it by.
I thought that was key. So
You're
anyway,
right.
I don't want to
Branding's a big
waste
deal.
one pagers, remove uncertainty. Do not put too complicated of documentation in front of people. One page, simple, highlighting the property was key. Turn a broker open house into an event. Expand distributions, not discounts. So how do you expand the influence of the property wider than what's already being seen? I thought this was a good strategy. Anyway, if you've got cold listings, this is a great article to just kind of refresh your head and talk about it. And even that, I would, if I've got a seller that's rough with me because their house hasn't sold, this might be an article that makes its way into conversation around, hey, here's what we need to do to kind of refresh your listing. Um,
And I think one of the toughest things to do is when you get 6 months or more into a listing and it just hasn't sold, even if you had traction, a little bit of, attention, is to continue week after week to have a new story to tell or a new conversation to have that shows that you're working diligently and progressively as their professional. And if you could subdivide these into the next 8 or 9 weeks, it gives you something to talk about. Hey, by the way, this week, this is what we're going to deploy. Hey, this week, this is how we're going to attack a new opportunity or reframe. And so it's a great way to, again, to enhance conversations without, sorry, just no offers this week.
Yeah. Yeah, this
all right.
this turns you into a partner with the seller when you have those kind of discussions.
So apparently, Homes.com had a hedge fund trying to do a hostile takeover, and there's not a lot to this article outside of it. It's reminding me that everybody wants Homes.com to be a Zillow or Realtor.com, and it's just not. It's a marketing platform for agents that a lot of agents are getting good traction from a marketing aspect. But in terms of like being a lead aggregator, it is not that. And CoStar owns Homes.com, and I don't think the vision of Homes.com has really panned out the way they originally thought it would. That's my opinion, but obviously there's some corporate board of director room disgruntlement going on at Homes.com, and I think that's just an awareness thing. Um,
And wasn't it supposed to be a diversity play for CoStar? And it just, the
it
amount of
was.
money they pumped into that system relative to return on investment just hasn't shown up.
I just
So that's the bottom line is they've got expectations that it was supposed to be an add-on that was going to boost shareholder value. And so that's the corporate holder takeover component of the article.
yeah, I think they tried to run a apartments.com playbook on homes, and it just didn't translate the same way.
Well, and the question is, they've committed to spending far, far less this year. So is that really the answer? Are they going to be able to now monetize because they're investing less? Or is it a market? It's a market share conversation. And I'm glad I'm not the guy deciding whether to spend millions and millions of dollars chasing, another rabbit.
Yep.
Well, I think that's the thing is we can connect the dots here, Rick, is they're not getting a return on investment on the money they're spending on homes.com. So they cut advertising to try to improve the margins. And now there's corporate boardroom disgruntlement going on. So it's just something to be aware of. That's all.
Well, and
Industry update.
And for those that don't know, CoStar is the elephant in the room when it comes to, commercial listing databases. I mean, they literal monopoly and not the easiest people to work with, as you and I know, Brett, because we've had to deal with them with our, commercial teams.
Yeah, and it's really expensive. All right, moving on.
And they don't care.
This article I love because it backs up a conversation I was having with our top 10% agents. It says, I built my real estate business on a bar napkin in an industry addicted to complex tech stacks and guru hacks. The secret to scaling isn't more software, it's a return to the physics of business. And the message that I shared with our top 10%, and I'll just repeat for everybody, is there is fundamental models of success in real estate that has created the success of real estate agents for years and years and years. And yes, we're an industry that innovates over time, and don't let the innovation take you away from the foundation that causes the business to thrive in the beginning. And he's saying, the message is everywhere. You need an AI bot to talk to your leads. You need a 50-step funnel to capture them. All this stuff is, I wouldn't say ignore it. I'm saying don't let it distract you from the models of building a successful real
Yeah.
estate business. Um, and you can read through this, but the three things he talks about are what's your marketing, what's your converting opportunity, and what's your managing opportunity. Like, what's the physics of the industry? And I've just watched real estate agents over the last few years uh, abandon some tried and true ways of doing business for more innovative, strategic ways. And I don't think it's a bad thing to lean into innovative, strategic new ways. It's just don't abandon the other things at the same time. You should always innovate and you should always do new strategies and new marketing techniques and all that stuff. Just don't abandon the fundamental part of your business that created success to get you here. Uh,
What's amazing with this, Brett? I feel like this is a repurposed conversation around the millionaire real estate agent, and he borrowed the three L's and just rebranded them from leads, listings, and leverage. If you go back up to marketing, sales, and operations, which is the people puzzle. And
yeah,
ultimately, what it also reminded me is that your business is your database, and it's not a directory. It's not a list of people. It's relational energy inside of conversations that you track and then you feedback and stay connected with. So it's about belly to belly, toe to toe, and face to face. It's about building
100%.
meaningful conversations or relationships through meaningful conversations. It's really that simple. And if you're overcomplicating your life, maybe that's part of your challenge this year is to simplify and get back to the basics.
Yeah, and I'm going to die on this hill probably, but I am all in on social media and I am all in on AI, and I'm doing my best to educate, implement all the stuff, right? But that doesn't mean we stop doing the other things that cause us to succeed. And my biggest fear I shared with the top 10% agents is those other things are actually our listing strategies that cause us to get listings. And it'll take people out if they're not careful. Anyway, moving on, moving on. All right. So President Trump says he wants to keep home prices high, lower borrowing costs. Here's the thing. This is not a political statement. What I read in an article like this is I want to know where the government position is so we can navigate at the local level. So this is saying the government's position or the messaging coming from the tower, if you will, is they don't want prices to go down, which I agree with that. I think prices are holding kind of flat. There's certain luxury price points that are still appreciating. There's certainly some median home price points that are maybe sliding backwards a little bit. I definitely think the condo market is starting to slide a little bit. We looked at some data points on that, but they're really focused on how do we lower the borrowing costs. I just don't know how they're going to do that and make a big enough difference outside of mortgage rates. So to me, the message is pressure on getting those rates down. What did you get out of this, Richard?
Well, I'm I don't want to say troubled by it, confused by it might be better. Is here's one of the issues. If you were to drop the interest rates from 6 down to 5, you're going to have a flood of buyers out there. And what's the result of that going to be? Prices are going to start spiking up again, which just creates a new cycle of unaffordability. The unaffordability is not just in the interest rates, it's a lot of other stuff. And this
Yep.
is I kind of relate this to what the Fed tries to do with balancing, employment with the government, the GDP going up. You've got to balance your home prices versus how easy is it for people to get into a house. And I'm not really sure how you do that one.
Uh,
Well,
Look,
I think
it's a
there a
complex
hope.
formula, right?
Well, and
Yeah.
the hope is that if you reduce interest rates, you free up inventory from people who are trapped with a low interest rate where the gap feels unappealing. If you're at a 3% and the interest rate's 6 on your next home, there's the psychology of being stuck and not wanting to pay a premium for that move. And so the agreed that a lower interest rate will pull people off the fence on the buy side, but the hope is that that margin between current interest rate and future interest rate for a seller creates a comparable amount of inventory to offset it, and it's a tightrope for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just on this update, what's important is to understand what's the message coming out of the tower to help us navigate what's happening on the ground. Does that make sense? So, uh, not that every time a message comes out of the tower that everything translates to the ground, but we do pay attention to what the focus and the message is, right? All right. Um, Housing demand is still positive, even with epic snowstorm. I realize we didn't get epic snowstorm, yet you're going to see the media talking about that housing demand is willing to get out in the cold. Did you guys have open houses this weekend? What was the traffic on your open house this weekend?
Hi,
Cynthia?
Brad. It's Lisa Schuster. I had traffic, or I had an open house in a very popular area. I had absolutely no traffic whatsoever.
No traffic. Okay. Anybody
No.
else have a different experience?
Our team had an open house in Coral Springs, and on a listing that the agent has had a lot of trouble with, we actually put it back on the market, and it was a packed house. I think 17 different groups of people came through.
Okay. Two different contrasts here, right?
Just
Anybody
illustrates the
else?
hyper local nature.
Yeah.
I
12 in
didn't
2 hours, 15 to 20 plus. There's a lot of people reporting in the comments. Go, Jim.
I didn't have an open house, but I had private showings at both of my listings, and half of them canceled for family emergency or illness. So,
Okay.
That happens in a 55 plus a lot, probably.
haha, they're not 55 plus, smart aleck.
All right.
I'm doing away with that.
You
Just
know, the other
kidding.
thing is when the country gets blanketed with snow, does it push more people down into Florida looking at property? Are there more people in town than normal? Are there more people that are tired of dealing with disruptive weather? I definitely think we benefit from that. But anyway, just food for thought.
Well, and I
All right.
wonder if you're stuck inside, if you're scrolling more or searching more or shopping more. So that's another element of and are you more likely to see or pick up some of, realtor related marketing because you're not distracted running around, in your car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
an interesting point, Rick. Would love to see Zillow's numbers, how their searches spike up when the weather turns like it did.
If you're, I'm going to pass through this article fast, but this we were talking about with what Richard was saying is it's really a complex formula. If you're interested or you get caught up in conversations around affordability, This is a little bit of a blueprint of what makes housing more affordable. And to Richard's point, it's not just lowering the mortgage rates, right? Like it's a complex formula. You'll get a copy of this in Circle. I'm going to blow through it. All right. 4.4 billion in foreign real estate investments in South Florida in 2025. Investment rose 42% from 2024, but it's still below a historical average.
Mhm.
And if you were at our stats presentations, you saw this, but Colombians led foreign buyers at 15% and Argentinians at 12%. So one thing I've thought about is how do we network more with those when we're in Atlanta at family reunion? How do we get into more social media networks with people that are from those nationalities? It's just an awareness thing that we deal with a lot of foreign investing, and where are they coming from, and how do we create a strategy around it? And then last but not least, this one, I'm trying to get my head wrapped around. A change in the housing market is leading to record deal cancellations. One of the things that I think is a big factor in this is insurance. So, what I do think is happening is agents aren't uh, engaging insurance costs early enough in the process. They're getting towards the closing table, and then the shock of insurance is landing on the plate of a potential buyer, causing those properties to cancel. Or I think a uneducated mortgage professional is not guiding or quoting correctly insurance costs. What do we think of this?
That's very possible. Then reality shows up and sticker shock sets in. That's possible, but it depends on the price point and the demographic of your purchaser, the socioeconomic component.
There's been several YouTube videos about Florida crashing because of insurance, not because of high interest rates. And they address this. And a lot of it I find when I'm dealing with buyers that have gotten pre approvals online, the biggest conversation has to be with all agents to get them with a local lender because they're looking at their insurance costs. So that needs to be your first conversation. I mean, I basically the script I've always used is, yes, we don't have income tax, but we do have high insurance costs. So I think as soon as you see an out of town or an online approval or pre-approval, you need to definitely get them with a local lender.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
just
just
don't think it was always part of the real estate agent's checklist to engage insurance early in the process. The history of that was usually it would come from the lender. Like you'd pass them to the lender would get them with an insurance company. But I think it probably needs to be way more on the radar of a real estate professional way earlier in the process of getting the insurance arrangement in place. And this kind of speaks to that bulletproofing the transaction. If we know this is what's causing transactions to blow up, we should put a system around it. We should engage this much earlier.
I'll
I
add
would
one
say that
thing as a guy on the west coast of Florida, I have a home that I'm in, half the year in Marco Island that we had an unprecedented 3 or 4 years from what the locals are telling me. And it's not common to have hurricane impact every year. And last year we didn't. And I actually got this celebratory letter from my insurance agency lowering my insurance by about 10%. And so I was pleasantly surprised. So I think the reminder that not everything goes up all the time is necessarily true, at least not in this example.
I think that's a miracle. I haven't heard of that one before.
Well, you should share
I
my miracle, Dave.
I agree.
Right?
Our insurance just went $1,000, went down $1,000 this year.
That's amazing. One of the things that I've always done is the day that we get the wind mitigation and 4 point during the inspection period, that's when you go and talk to your insurance carrier. So you have the information, and that way you're still in your cancellation period if it's going to be, over the top.
There you go.
Now,
Well, there's your update, guys. Jen, you were gonna say something?
no, it was Audrey.
Audrey.
I did a class on that. Me personally, I already have the talk with the insurance the day they get pre-approved. I asked the lender how much they put. Every lender, I have a conversation with them before I even like show the property, how much they put for the HOA, how much they put for the insurance, and how much they put for the taxes. So like that, it allows me, because most of my buyers don't have money, so it allows me to find out what they are estimated for. If they're wrong at that time, I tell them that they're wrong. And if they estimated too low, usually I bump that up, but at least I can double check what price range to look in function of what they put for insurance or HOA. And then with me, I get the wind mitigation and inspection back during the inspection time frame, and we get quotes during the inspection time frame. We never go over that. It's one of our requirements.
There you go.
Now, lately, I got a lot of cancellation. I'm on the listing side. I got a lot of cancellation on the buyer side, which I never usually lose a contract due to inspection. But they don't even give me the choice of coming back and renegotiating. They just go on the contract, they cancel. We don't even know why. Like they don't have a report to give us. They don't try to renegotiate. They just cancel. So I think the buyers may have a little bit more choice right now, that they go faster on the contract, but then they're willing to renegotiate way much more and end up to backing out because something else came on the market, or they just got scared with the inspection and they just don't renegotiate.
Got it. Well, happy Monday, guys. We are 1/12 the way through the year. Let's go.
Good to see everybody.
Have a good one.